Welcome to another episode of BHP Book Club. I am your host, Kelly Morgan. Today I'm speaking with author Douglas Rappaport. Douglas was on before promoting his book, The Reckoner. He is now back promoting his newest novel, Dead People. It is what he calls speculative science fiction. I'm so glad that he's come back to share his second novel with us. Let's just bring him right on. Let's just get right to it. Welcome to the podcast, one of our standing members, author Douglas Rappaport. Douglas, thank you so much for coming back to the podcast to share your new novel. I'm excited to speak with you. Welcome.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, absolutely. So we had talked to you a little while ago and you were promoting your book, The Reckoner.
Right.
Right. And so now you've got a new book that's just come out. Tell us all about it.
Sure, it's called Dead People, and it couldn't be more opposite from Reckoner. It's a speculative science fiction novel, and basically it's this idea I had. I'm not really a science fiction person, but I had this idea several years ago about what would it be like if after the world ended and years later, some alien race came and restarted life again, but they brought back a random assortment of dead people from different time periods. So you could have, Abraham Lincoln and Bill Clinton in the same room. So it'd be, dead people from all different time periods and technology from different time periods, all sort of meshed into one too. So. And of course, because these aliens bring back random dead people from throughout history, they accidentally bring back bad people as well, like serial killers and dictators and just bad people. So they hire this guy, his name's Mild McMahon, and he was a professional football player in his previous life. And now he's a hitman who's hired to kill these bad people. That the aliens have brought back, and in exchange for that, different bad people have different points assigned to them depending on how bad they are. And if he reaches a certain point level, Mild McMahon can then bring back someone of his own choosing back from the dead who maybe didn't come back, who maybe the aliens didn't bring back. In this case, it turns out to be his mother. So his job is to kill all these bad people in order to bring his mother back.
That's an interesting concept. So I have all these questions for you.
Yeah,
so
sure.
When you are brought back from the dead, do you remember who you were?
You have sort of, you remember who you were in a way, but it's not as crisp as it would be. So for instance, you might find yourself repeating something that you were doing before, but you don't exactly know why. For instance, the book starts out with Sirhan, the person who killed Robert Kennedy, and he killed in real life in history. He killed Robert Kennedy in the kitchen of the hotel as Robert Kennedy was exiting the stage. And so Sirhan at the beginning of the book is in the kitchen, but he doesn't know why, with a gun. It really depends. Like some people remember stuff, some people don't remember anything, and some people are like Sirhan, who, and he's not a major character or anything like that. He's just in the beginning, who finds himself in that same location again, but he's not exactly sure why.
So when they come back from the dead, did they come back the same age as they were when they died?
No, that's the other thing. Since they're randomly brought back at different ages as well. Abraham Lincoln, for instance, could come back as a child. Someone else can come back as an old man or an old woman. So it really depends. So some of these killers are young, very young.
Interesting concept. So I have one more question. So
Sure.
when they come back, say for example, we'll use Abraham Lincoln. He could come back as a 9-year-old child, right?
Yeah.
But where would he come back to? Would he have a family? How would that work for him?
No, wow, that's the first time actually someone's asked me that specific question. He doesn't come back really with a family. You come back and you sort of have to figure out, who you are and where you need to be. I mean, obviously, if it's a child, they're taken care of by somebody, obviously. They don't come back with their initial. I hadn't been asked that before. Like I said, I don't think they necessarily come back with their initial family or anything like that. They're just randomly brought back, and it's sort of thrown into life again.
And they could come back anywhere on the planet, or do they come back where they were? So, for example, Abraham Lincoln could show up in China.
Exactly. And he's not necessarily going to be in politics again either.
Interesting. I like the concept.
It's a concept, like I said, I had swimming around for many years, but I was like, I don't know if I can do that or not. Like it's a sort of a big concept. And as you just pointed out, there's a million, questions that you can come up with. And to be honest, I haven't really figured out everything about the world. It's this book is going to be part of a series.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah, so I'm planning on 3 books. It could be more, but I'm planning on at least 3 books. And I'm finding out about this world myself as I write it. So I don't have all the answers either.
I like it. So the other 2 books, are they still just up here in your mind, or have you started to maybe write them out a little bit?
I've started the second book. I'm about 100 pages into it. I don't have it figured out. I have an idea of where I want the third book to go, but like the second book that I'm working on, I don't really know. I'm a blank pager, like I may have said in my last interview. I don't really outline or anything like that. I have a beginning and an end in mind, then I sort of fill in the middle. But in this case, my usual rule of having the beginning and ending in mind, I had it in mind for Dead People's first book, but I don't really have it exactly mapped out in my brain yet, exactly how they're going to end or anything like that.
So how, if you're bringing back all these random people, and I would imagine not all the people that, I'm just guessing, in this world that you're creating, not everybody that's going to be brought back is necessarily going to be famous, right?
Right.
So if you're just randomly brought back, is that how the world is populated? Do you see what I'm saying? That's how the world is populated. There's no other way to populate the world. No.
And that's another good question. But no, the world's populated like that, and it's overpopulated. They don't bring back everybody, of course. That would be real, impossible. But they bring back a random amount of people throughout the ages, and it's not really what's the word? The bad people who are brought back have the inkling of being bad again, so that's why they have to be destroyed. And also it's also population control at the same time. But there's this other group, this other faction of another group who doesn't want these bad people killed because they are pro-population control. And so if these serial killers come back and they've killed 30 people in their previous life, this other group that is around in this new world, they don't want these serial killers killed because, again, it's population control, and it's sort of like they want they're the other side of the coin, so to speak. So while Miles McMahon is trying to kill these bad people, he's got this other faction that's trying to kill him.
So I have another question about your planet, because you're just making me think about this new Earth that you've created.
Sure.
So aliens have brought back people, dead people from all different times, and these people could come back at any age and be anywhere on the planet. But what about all other life on the planet?
That's a good question. So a certain amount of animals are brought back, insects, all different life forms are brought back randomly, and in fact they're brought back in a different way. For instance, some of the animals can talk. So Mild McMahon's dog can actually talk, and he's actually his what's the word? I just forgot the word. The dog gives him the assignments. His handler, that's it. The dog, his name is Socrates, and he gives Mild all the assignments of who he's going to kill next, and the dog talks.
So are people surprised that animals talk, or it's just the norm?
I think both, because some of the animals can talk, but they don't necessarily talk all the time, or they might not talk at all. It just depends on whether they want to talk, and if, what it happens, how it happens to come out. But so I think the humans know that, for instance, that some dogs can talk, but like I said, not necessarily all of them do.
Interesting. So if the book is going to be a series, do you have the same main character, this hitman? Is he going to be throughout all three books?
Yeah, it's going to be the Mild McMahon series. Yeah,
the Mild McMahon series. I like it. I really like the concept. I could ask you kind of all types of questions about this world that you've created, because it's just such a different concept.
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of good feedback and good reviews in terms of the concept. 'Cause obviously, if I don't have people on board with the concept, then that would be bad. But we've definitely had a lot of people that like the concept.
So tell me, Douglas, how are you marketing this book? You called it speculative science fiction? I've never heard that term before. So how do you find your audience?
Sure. So just real quick to define speculative science fiction. Speculative fiction is another version of history, or fiction, another version of history, but done in a speculative way. So like this is like a world that's full of dead people and talking dogs, and it's speculative because it's not an actual history that existed. So it's taking history and doing a speculative version of it. Like, what if Abraham Lincoln wasn't assassinated? What if John F. Kennedy wasn't assassinated? What if World War II didn't happen? That's all speculative fiction. And so speculative science fiction is in the same vein. But it's also my publisher has called it comic science fiction, because there's a lot of humor in it as well. It's got a speculative, humorous, dark science fiction. It's a full classification, I guess, of it. But I'm doing lots of podcasts, obviously, like yours, and in the new year, depending on COVID and everything, I'm planning. My publisher is bringing me out to some conventions, science fiction fan conventions, and things like that, to promote the book.
Have you created an audiobook for this book?
No, not yet, no.
Is that something that you're working on, or you're thinking about?
I'm thinking about it. I'm not working on it at the moment, but it's definitely something in mind as a possible edition of the book. Yeah.
How long is the book, Douglas? How many pages is it?
It's not as long as Reckoner. It's I forget the exact page count. I think it's like 320 pages or something like that. Yeah, so it's not a tome, but it's not a novella either. So, but it's got a lot of chapters, like short chapters. So it's this really quick sort of page turner, kind of book.
It sounds. I really do. The more I sit here and think about it, I really like the concept. I've really never. I mean, you could really go a lot of different places with this new world that you've created, which kind of makes me think, if that's the way that this new Earth is populated, then how does anything get done? Do people go through a natural life cycle and then die, or are they always alive?
That's an excellent question. Yeah, they die. I mean, you can die. So you could get cancer or anything else and die. The aliens have recreated the world as well, and it's different, but it's not different in terms of like, you might see a horse and carriage and a bus going down the street, but everything is sort of recreated as it was before. So you have the same sort of buildings and the same sort of geography as before, but the technology is from all different time periods.
So how do like families form?
I don't know if the true family can form in this situation. I mean, I think it's sort of like a survival of the fittest type of thing, and the young kids are hopefully taken care of by older, more mature, responsible citizens or whatever. But there's no sort of family, so to speak, in terms of how we would think of, a sort of a nuclear family in that sense. But it's more of like an alien ant farm, I guess, not to put it in one way. Like the aliens they're almost doing this like a simulation, they were sort of in a little wonder about the Earth. So to bring it back into, they were trying to recreate it the best they can, but they don't know who to bring back and what, who's good, who's bad, and that type of thing. So it's a little bit different than it was before.
Is there still government, and are countries still countries? Is China still China? Is France still France?
Yeah, there's still countries, there's still governments, but the aliens, the string fellows, are part of these governments. So the string fellows are part of the law enforcement. They're part of the government. But yeah, the governments are all the same, different countries. In that respect, yeah.
That is very cool. I really like the concept. So I can't wait. I'm actually really interested in the book, and I'm not big on science fiction. I'll be honest with you. Science fiction's never been a genre that I like to read. It's more something that I would rather watch. Right. But I'm interested in the concept that you have with this, and then it's going to be, you said, a trilogy as well, correct? Yeah,
I wouldn't say it's classic science fiction in terms of it's not the same as reading Dune or something like that. I mean, it's going to read not like a science fiction book, but in the classic sense. It's only science fiction because of the story and how the aliens come and reanimate the Earth. But if you put that on the side, I think it could be seen as sort of a straightforward sort of comic novel.
So I do have one more question for you.
Sure.
If the aliens have brought back dead people and tried to create the Earth as best they can, is there still religion?
That's a great question. They're really trying to keep religion away, because they think of religion, the Stringfellows, the aliens, as one of the reasons mankind didn't last. So religion is sort of a four-letter word in this book. There's no traditional religions or anything like that. It's actually sort of against the law. It's not something that the Stringfellows want to bring back because they know that was a bad thing for mankind in the end.
Interesting. Huh. I really do like the concept. Tell me the name of the book again.
It's called Dead People.
And it's available everywhere?
Yeah. It's on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. I think it's on some other sites as well. Some different editions are on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. But if you look for Dead People by Douglas Rappaport on Amazon, I created a tiny URL too, that goes right to the Amazon page. It's tinyurl.com/dead-people-2021.
Fantastic. Douglas, thank you so much for coming back to the podcast and sharing the book. I think it sounds like a great concept. When you get this second book done of the trilogy, definitely going to have to come back because I want to have a lot more questions for you. Okay?
That would be great. I'd be glad to come back.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to another episode of BHP Book Club. I am Kelly Morgan, your host. I just wrapped up with author Douglas Rappaport as we talked about his new novel, Dead People. It's available everywhere books are sold. You can get it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. He also mentioned some other platforms as well. If you are an author and you are interested in becoming a member of the book club and promoting your book, just go to my website, brightheadedpublishing.com, go to the contact section, get in touch with me, and next thing you know, you are the newest member to the book club, sharing your book and your story and your experiences with all of us. I just want to take a moment and really just let you know how grateful I am that you've chosen to share this time with me. Like I always say, there's a bajillion podcasts out there, so thank you so much for listening. Next week, another author, another story. But until then, keep writing.